2:15 p.m. Friday, September 23rd, 2022. We're John City, Roseman, California. You're a zombie out here who's emotionally deprived and sleep deprived at the same time. How's it going, guys? Well, I'm without equipment still, and things are not going so well. But plans are still there, and they're still being adjusted left and right. Yeah, just I'm still dealing. I'm still dealing. I got triggered, I know that, and the depression's been kicking in before the crying sessions have kicked in. Usually, I'd be on alert when it comes down for those kind of situations where crying is most important. Even watching different television shows would actually get me to cry. But watching different shows that are not making me cry as much. But still, there are moments when I do feel it. I know, the channel is the most boring damn thing I can ever think of. Some of the files I keep posting out there are the file names that my phone or laptop would actually designate them as. Simply put, it has to. It has to do it that way. And it's the only way I know how to get things going. It's not the easiest damn thing in the world to do, but it's what I have to do. Not liking it. It just is. Besides, on one screen, I'm dealing with movies and then government and politics and everything else going hell in a handbasket. And hearing about people whining and griping about how the world's coming to an end and they're going to be blaming everybody else. Where nobody else accepts responsibility for their own stupidity and their own actions. But they're going to continue to blame everybody else because that's what they do. And again, I get so sick and tired of it. I really get sick and tired of it. I hear and I read, I listen to, and I still deal with my own damn problems concerning about bugs and life in general. And right now, it's I'm just seeing how politics is playing out concerning about a large orange fat guy who actually had the office of the 45th president still waging legal battles one way or another and his fight to stay out of jail. One way or another, he's going to stay out of jail. He's going to get out of legal battles. He's going to wheel and deal and lie his ass off. Because that's all he's been doing, and he knows he's good at it. And the legal system is burying his ass, and he's afraid of it. Meanwhile, the reality check out here in Roseman, California, it really doesn't matter much what happens out there. There's a hurricane going up the coast of the East Coast and heading over towards the New England states. Of course, cruise ships are getting affected left and right, but it has nothing to do with the West Coast. There was tropical storms happening. It was a hurricane at one time, knocking out a city or two in Mexico. We get some of the moisture over here, lowers down the temperature. We're barely breathing. We get reports of earthquakes happening in Mexico. That's a different story altogether. Because now I got the Weather Channel forecasting earthquakes out here. They're issuing earthquake warnings because we've had massive 7-pointers happening in the Mexican coast region and along the North American Pacific Plate area. There's been movement. Of course, the aftershocks have also been felt along Baja southern tip region, but mostly in west, middle west of west coast area actually of Mexico. And they're afraid that we're going to get more movement from San Andreas because of that movement there. Maybe there's more buildup than we realize. A lot of people keep telling me that it's going to be earthquake weather because weather always plays a factor on earthquakes. Well, I got to tell these people something about this one here. I've been through the earthquakes all my life. Earthquakes can hit you in the middle of the night. They can hit you during the morning. They can hit you in the afternoon. They can hit you in the evening. There's no such a thing as earthquake weather because there's nothing to pin it down. So I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Except they keep saying it's earthquake weather. The earthquake's going to move because of the weather's changing. No, it doesn't. Earthquake moves because you've got pressures in the earth that are slowly breaking down at certain points of the fault line where they're either going to go up or they're going to be sideways or going to move whatever they're going to be moving, depending what direction of the fault line's going. And if we're going to be going over a fault line or we're going to be going under the fault line. But basically, we got what they call slip strikes. North American and Pacific plates have just been going. Pacific goes up, North America goes the other way. Sometimes I have to keep checking the directions where they're going. Give me 1 second here. Reality check is I'm watching on my dog and she's watching on me. I had been through earthquakes since the Sylmar earthquake, 71. I didn't start studying about earth science until I got into Geology 101 back in the 80s. But I've been through a few earthquakes during those times, and I can assure you, during those days, they kept talking about earthquake weather, but there was nothing to pin it down on. Early in the morning, there was an earthquake for Sylmar. Not to mention Whittier and Arrows, Pacific Palisades, Northridge was about 4:30ish in the morning. A very cool morning with no sunlight, and it hit during the dark, and it hit us hard. I can also tell you that when Ridgecrest had theirs a few years back, it was during the daytime. It was a 7-pointer. Or actually, 6.3, I think. But it was still good enough to do some damage in the whole town. Plus have sufficient aftershocks to keep them on their toes and scare the shit out of them. I understand that feeling completely. So, there was all these other side quakes, but never the main one. And throughout my life, I was hearing it from geologists on the tube and in a college classroom, and they could never pin it down. But they always kept dispelling the myth concerning about earthquake weather. Earthquake is a geologic activity that happens regarding Earth's movement, and it's usually caused by forces happening in Earth's crust, and underneath that you have the Earth's mantle. providing the engine for it. And if there's enough force being pressured and pushed against the rocks and the minerals in the fault lines, they will move. If there's sufficient enough vibration or sufficient enough force to the minerals, they will shift. If there is any water depreciation in the tables, even deep, they will be shifting. When they did fracking, basically a technique of removing oil from the ground by forcing liquid and redistributing the liquid in the ground while you're trying to force the oil up, and not to mention natural gas. But because of the shifting of the rocks, because of the shifting of the liquid in there, your natural aquifers in there had been keeping the rock stable all this time. But if there's sufficient enough depreciation one way or another, you've got movement of the earth. This is what I've been educated when I took Geology 101 again decades later at a community college. And it was surprising me a lot. I'm living in a generation where they haven't experienced a lot of earthquakes since '70. They've only been experiencing it since 2000 current. So if we actually had any earthquakes, they're probably minor ones, and they're like, okay, well, that's nothing. I've been through a lot of rocky ones, and they're not fun to deal with. They're not. Us old-timers who remember all these damn things, it leaves a lasting impression on a kid, all the way through the adulthood, where either we have a maturity, adult, terrified outlook on earthquakes, that we hate the living crap out of them, or else we develop this morbid fascination as geologists to understand the mechanisms of the earth necessary to dispel the fear that we have built up all of our lives. Or else we could be a hybrid of both. Me. Yeah, I mean, when I got into college back in the 80s, right after high school, being an immature kid, a teenager at the time, I wanted to understand something about the earthquakes. I wanted to understand the mechanism about the earthquakes. I wanted to understand what the hell was going on. It scared the living crap out of me. Between the time I was born and all the way to the time of going to college. Then after going to college, I experienced a couple more earthquakes. It still scared the shit out of me. And understanding that didn't exactly help me very much. I remember one psychologist was trying to tell people left and right, you got to take control of your fear regarding the earthquakes. One particular technique you can do is go 1, 2, 3 every time the ground is shaking like crazy. You want to get your fear factor going. You're commanding the earth to shut up. But basically you're telling your brain to shut this out, this fear. So which means you have to take control one way, by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you out like crazy. It's like, what the hell is that going to do? The place is shaking around over here, and you're going to be thumping the ground like crazy? Okay, that's crazy enough anyway. Except you want to run out of the damn building, as you certainly can, and try to get away from the other things. But here's the thing. In my neighborhood right now, I've got danger zones like you would not believe. I've got overhangs that can knock my ass out. I've got poles that can knock my ass out or shock me to living crap. I've got power poles on my side of the street that lines will be able to electrify the fence line we have around here. So if anybody happens to touch the metal somehow, zap! If they happen to touch the cars, zap! There's going to be broken water mains around here. There's going to be a broken gas main around here because I kept smelling gas every once in a great while, but I know there's going to be gas lines breaking in this particular place. How we get our hot water? We get it from gas. We're not charged to gas in the apartment complex, but we are charged for power separately and in the rent. But we're not charged for water or for gas, but just to keep the power going on. Well, one has to have power for refrigerator and electric stoves all the damn time. That's the only thing. And everything else is paid for. It scares the hell out of me that I'm constantly walking in an area. Sometimes I get blasé about it. I'm walking along pathways that are going to get me caught. Now, between my apartment complex and certain areas, there's a tree line on my side of the street. And most of this had been overgrown, but throughout the years, recent years, they've been getting trimmed back more and more, especially away from a power line that's right along the street. They don't want any sparking or fires going on, but we're going to get fired and we're going to get trapped. There's no doubt about that one. I've got trailer homes across the street that are fire hazard. I've got residential homes behind the apartment that may be trapped area as well, but let's see. I've got an open field on the east side of where I am, a vast open area of desert region that actually offers no humanity on that side, except to be right next to an Air Force base. But on this side, we have residential trailer homes, we have small houses, apartment complexes on the left-hand side, going up to the street of 15th Street with a big open field on the corner of it. And on my side, we have also commercial area. I mean, besides the tree area, then we got a nice flat area. It's full of scrub brush and power lines. Beyond that, you have the store. Now, here's the fun part. If you're going to get supplies out of the damn thing, you've got to be going through a death zone. If we happen to get into a situation where we've got broken power lines out here, it is going to be a nightmare because we're going to be dealing with traffic. We're going to be dealing with foot traffic, trying to get around this stuff. Just to get to raid, and I'll say that again, raid a store, unless of course they're going to be making sure that they're not going to get raided, and I know they're not. They have sufficient enough people in there that may just control it. Well, hopefully not charge anybody else for what's going on. Well, we had the 1994 earthquake out in Northridge. Well, we also had the Whittier Narrows quake earlier on in the 80s. Well, we had Landers. There was a lot of price gouging going on. There was a lot of price gouging going on by a lot of merchants in the area. They're going to suck up as much money as they possibly can from people left and right. The main stores were trying to get rid of their meat and their bread, their eggs, their milk. Anything that was going to be perishable, they were getting rid of it by the tons, including ice. A lot of ice. The smaller stores that actually were still running with power, they were the ones charging up left and right, which we enacted price gouging laws here in the state of California in the 90s, right after Northridge quake back in 94. I remember going into 7-Elevens. I remember going into 7-Elevens for necessities, and they bring price gouging left and right for the milk, for the eggs, for the coffee, for everything, including water. Jack up the prices, jack up the prices, jack up the price. And it's like, wait a minute, the prices are, this is what we got the driver. You're going to buy or not? You're going to buy this stuff or not? I got customers waiting behind you. You will buy this. And this is the price. This is illegal price gouging us. This is business. There have been reports made to up and down the state of California on these guys. Every time there was a major quake or a major disaster going on, the price gouging would go. So the laws were enacted during that time. They were in effect. And from this, we were actually able to not get charged as much. Supplies were thin, but you scrounged whatever you could. If or when we happen to have an earthquake situation over here, our generation, our current generation that actually lives with earthquakes, would understand how to deal with them. We're not going to like it, but we're going to deal with it. For those who've actually lived in California long enough to deal with earthquakes, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm scared shitless. I had my family with me during those times. The same one you see in the pictures. Yeah. My brother, my mother, and my me have survived and lived through the quakes. Hard as hell they were. But when they hit, they're going to hit without warning, without weather prediction or anything else like that. I'm not ready for it. There's no way in hell I'm ready for this damn shit. The only thing I could tell you is no one expects the unexpected at this point. We can live in a lot of fear at this point, or we can just try to cope and deal with it. That's the only thing I can tell you. Either we come together as a community, or else we're going to be living apart as strangers, and we're going to be pilfering from each other. That's how it's going to work. And I'm not looking forward to that time. And neither are you.